Every now and then, you wonder if a movie is just punking you, that it's just some big troll on the part of the studio that should know better. Maybe they are deliberately trying to create something terrible in the hopes that it will reach a status of so bad it's good or just be memed into box office success. It's like they looked at Morbius and thought, we were almost there. We almost got the recipe right. A producer's-esque movie that is so bad that it will rebound into being a triumphant success. If that is indeed what they were going for with Madame Web, it completely misses the mark. This is a movie that thinks you are stupid, not just because it believes the general audience will uncritically lap this slop up, but because it thinks the fans will stand up and just cheer for every lazy reference it makes back to their flagship franchise. There was nobody asking for a Madame Web movie. Nobody. This movie follows a young woman who gains powers to see the future and must defeat a villain who is basically just evil Spider-Man. Now a mostly powerless woman and a group of annoying teenagers trying to defeat a superpowered villain who is hunting them. This could be, I guess, something? And I'm being generous, but this has no interest in proving it can rise beyond its lackluster and thin inspiration, and instead results to endless references to much stronger source material. Just, ridiculous shoehorned in things like chucking in Uncle Ben for no reason, who needs to wink at the camera and say, hey, guess who I started dating? All while proclaiming how much he's going to enjoy being an uncle with all the fun but none of the responsibilities. Get it? Do you get it? To be fair, Adam Scott plays the role with his usual charisma and is probably the only one who makes it out of this mess without mud on his face. But the overindulgence of these references is just kind of cringe-inducing after a while, all the way down to the villain looking exactly like Spider-Man in case the audience, just somehow missed the connection. Because this is what the villain looks like in the comics. And this just brings in the weird question, like, once Peter does show up, does he model his costume and look off of just this complete lunatic? Don't worry though. Sony is here to make sure you never forget about Peter or his supporting cast, with name drops to J. Jonah Jameson. Mary Parker gets to show up and hint at her future kid's name. They have so little restraint that even Spider-Man's fetus gets to make a cameo. It thinks it's so clever that it even takes Spider-Man's, famous call to action and it just lazily reverses it and goes, oh, with great responsibility comes great power. As if that makes any sense if you take more than 4 seconds to think about it. This is what Sony thought would get the fans to stand up, cheer, and just clap their hands. This is what they believed they could make a cinematic universe on. This is some grade A delusion. They're already trying to drum up some fake free publicity by playing into that same It's Morbin Time meme game by making fun of their own shoddy dialogue, as if pointing out bad workmanship somehow makes it better. This movie was ridiculed before it even came out for the line in the trailer about the spider in the Amazon. This is nothing compared to some of the dialogue in here. The movie opens with some of the worst exposition I have ever seen, followed quickly by CGI that looks lifted straight out of early 2000s superhero films, as a tribe of Spider-Men jump from tree to tree just like these weird rubber men. At least it was setting expectations low early, so as to not disappoint us, as if that was even possible. But the worst of the dialogue is delivered by the main villain, Ezekiel, who is perhaps one of the best unintentionally laugh-out-loud performances in a major motion picture that I've seen in years, with such scenes as where he's just kind of alternating between whispering and yelling about how he wants his spider, or loves his spider, or how he's worried about stealing his spider. The movie wants him to be like the Winter Soldier and have that kind of, underlying threat. But he lands closer to, the Terminator if he was played by Borat. Any authentic attempts at comedy fall completely flat and are delivered with this bored disinterest by the main star, Dakota Johnson, who looks like she was checked out of this movie before the cameras even started rolling. And frankly, who can blame her? They do nothing interesting with Cassandra Webb, neither as a character or as an action prop. The movie fails to utilize the time travel powers in any way that feels inspired or fun. They can't even keep them consistent as the rules constantly change, and by the end of the movie, the filmmakers just kind of say F it and give her the ability to kind of astral project and duplicate herself just sort of out of nowhere. But before then, her powers could be mostly summed up as her ability to steal cars and then hit the villain with said car just before he can kill the 3 useless teen girls, and then they all make their getaway in the car. now that I think about it, her powers really are just get cars and drive cars. Madam Web may have missed her calling in another franchise. And if you think the 3 Spiderwomen, they're going to carry this thing, oh boy, don't get your hopes up. First off, in some of the most blatant false advertising I have ever seen, the Spiderwomen are only in 2 very short flash-forward scenes, complete with casting and costumes that feel ripped straight out of a CW pilot. For the most part, these 3 are just teenage girls for the full runtime. Annoying teenage girls who never rise above their single personality trait and possess zero instinct for self-preservation. At one point, they are hiding in the woods from Ezekiel, who they know is trying to kill them, but instead, they decide to go to a diner and dance on some tables. To me, this is just Darwinism at work. These 3 are plot devices and only exist as someone for Madam Web to save, complete with overly contrived reasons why they can't just go to the police or be dropped off at their parents' house. The movie can't even be bothered to hint at why these 3 are so important or will become superheroes in the future. But never mind the girls, though, because the real hero here is Pepsi. In fact, Pepsi probably should have been given a starring credit with a scene where Cassandra carries it through the house and constantly has to hold it or place it in the frame like it's a commercial. I kid you not, Pepsi is actually the one that defeats the main villain. I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not going to spoil it for you, but it is truly something to see. Or don't. Rather, don't do that. But Pepsi truly is the hero that we deserve. Most criminally, though, the movie, it's just boring. The action is minimal, the plot thin, and the time travel is nowhere near creative enough to sustain that full runtime. It tries to keep the audience interested like some bad Zoomer YouTuber who edits his videos like it's having some sort of seizure. It's just aggressively in your face. And this thing really isn't all that long, but I was regularly checking my watch to see how much time was left. Especially after an excursion back to the Amazon near the end of the second act. At this point, I was kind of just like, no, how much time is left? Come on. But, of course, I did have to do this review, so I did sit it out, probably against my better judgment. This bare-bones story really hinges on motivations from a villain who's trying to murder people off this combination of bad dreams and premonitions that already have been proven just unreliable. It's complete nonsense. This is all just a reminder of who we're left with if Marvel Studios can't get their act back together. Bad agents like Sony shoving the most banal and lazy attempts at franchising down our throats. This is the kind of movie that's scaring viewers away from theaters and away from franchises in general. This may be the worst Spider-Man related movie Sony has ever produced. And that is saying a lot from a studio that gave us gems like Morbius. When Madam Web at the end triumphantly proclaims, "The best thing about the future is it hasn't happened yet," you'll find yourself in this weird place of both agreeing and completely rejecting her comment. On one hand, you blessedly haven't had to sit down for any more of these spin-off films yet. But on the other hand, the comment certainly is a threat of more to come. But that's all I've got for Madam Web. This movie, it's a travesty. Don't go see it. Save yourself. But do come back here again. Please subscribe and comment. Leave a like if you want to. Just whatever. We're going to have more videos coming up soon. I've still got my 2023, all the films I watched, and short ranking list. I've got my top 10 films of 2023 I'm still doing. And I've got more reviews from films from 1918 that I'm going to be putting out, as well as 1918 in film. All of that is on the way. It's going to be a big new year. So please subscribe and come back for more. Until then, keep those reels turning. Thank you.